So what are concessions in a negotiation? Well, generally, a concession is simply where one party adjusts their position at the request of the other party. So if I offer you to sell an item for $10 and you say, no, I'll buy it for $5, and I say, I can come down to $9. That's a concession on my part. I've adjusted my position at the bequest in the direction that is desired by the other side. So I'm giving in somewhat, maybe not totally, but somewhat to the desires or objectives of the other side in the negotiation. So you're adjusting your position accordingly. Now, the purpose of concessions is, and they're generally necessary as part of the negotiation process, because when you have parties at differing points as to what their aspirations or expectations are, we'll talk more about this later, but where they anchor themselves coming into the negotiation, the parties oftentimes have to some extent, concede or grant a concession to bring the parties together towards a point of potential agreement. Okay, and where you're trying to land is within the party's zone of potential agreement. And for more explanation of what is the zone of potential agreement, see our video on that topic, that in reservation point. But basically, it's the area where one party sets their reservation point, where they're willing to walk away from the negotiation if they don't reach that that value on both sides, right? And this makes up the area between those, if there is one, is called the zone of potential agreement, where if the parties land inside of each other's reservation points, then you have the opportunity, at least, to arrive at a negotiated agreement. Okay. Now, so once again, concessions can allow the parties to come together to bring them into the zone of potential agreement where a negotiated agreement can happen or take place. One important thing to remember about concessions is it is a tactical tool used to carry out or achieve the individual objectives that you establish as part of your strategy for the negotiation. It is not the only tactical tool. There are ways to bring parties together. Perhaps I simply convince you as to why I'm set where I anchored myself in the negotiation, and you make a concession all the way to where I am in terms of what I'm offering, right? And I don't concede at all. I make no concession. So concessions aren't always absolutely necessary to bring the parties together, but generally there's going to have to be a concession at least by one party in order to arrive at a negotiated agreement, unless you have a scenario where the offer that I make is acceptable by the other side and there's no negotiation at all. There's simply an offer and an acceptance. Okay, but if you're actually going to negotiate the interest at stake, your objective is to, at least in some degree, have the other party concede or make a concession towards what you desire.